It's interesting that they're very private sector solutions, a lot of what you've discussed. And I remember when I was in college, and my first job at UNEP was when the Montreal Protocol came out, and that was about chlorofluorocarbons, late 80s. And that, I'm hard pressed to think of many other international agreements that have actually stuck. And as the politics becomes more polarized, what are you seeing on the regulatory front in terms of, this sort of government-driven solutions which really do help us achieve these at scale?
Yeah, well, I think President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act was and is incredibly effective. It has driven a lot of innovation, a lot of money for adaptation in marginal communities, which has been very much needed. So I think that's a very hopeful sort of sign. The international climate agreements are very problematic. I've been following them for a long time. There's a lot of talk, not enough action. Things like the Green Climate Fund, which is set up to help distribute money from the wealthy nations of the West, which after all are the people that causes the problem. We, meaning the wealthy nations of the West, burned all the fossil fuels that put the CO2 in the atmosphere that is now causing the problems in the global South. And, what do we owe them? How much money do we owe them to help them adapt to the problems we cause? That's very problematic and a very fraught. Government has an extraordinarily important role to play in this, and you're seeing it play out in different ways in different places. Some cities are better than others, some states are better than others. I think broadly we're moving in the right direction. I think that the problem with everything about this story is that it's not happening fast enough given the changes that are happening in our climate. We're in a race against physics.
Yeah, that's very fair. Let's end with the individual and what you want them to take away from this book. Obviously, there's a certain be careful, be wary, be respectful of the impact that heat can have on you and your body and such. Anything else that you think is an important takeaway?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is, the urgency of the moment, that we are in this transformational moment. We are not going back to the climate that we all grew up in. We're moving into a completely different climate era. We don't know what the rules are. We don't know how hot it could really get. We're having these extreme heat waves now. 120 degrees in Phoenix, can it get to be 130, 135? Maybe it can. And we don't really know what this new world looks like. So we have to be prepared. And being prepared means most of all being educated about what these risks are, and at least being able to think about them a little bit, prepare for them, talk to others about them, share knowledge, because the big point of my book is that we're all in this together.
Great. Well, I think it's definitely an excellent place to start. The heat will kill you first. Jeff Goodell, thanks for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me.